What are you working on? Oh, this.
Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jeff, or GeoQuester. I am your host this evening for Legends and Lore. And to my left is my co-hostess in the stream and in life, my beautiful wife, the Susie Q. At this point in time, you should hear Susie Q screaming, here I am, the one and the only, blah, 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 blah. However, the Mistress of Darkness just got a phone call about a minute before we went live that said, hey, Mom, come pick me up, as Junior is up at the high school at the moment, finishing off his broadcasting club of the basketball game this evening. But instead of our beautiful co-hostess with us, I have our special guest, Mr. Matt Rowles from GenghisCon. Hello, Matt.
Hello there, everybody.
Excellent. So, this evening, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot in store for you. We have giveaways, we have a special guest, we're going to be talking about conventions, we'll be talking about all sorts of wonderful things, and we've got a fair number of pretty funny stories to go along with some of the stuff we're going to be talking about. But, so, first of all, some of you have already asked, who the hell is Matt Rowles? Well, let's find out. Matt, who the hell are you?
Well, I am the owner and con director for the oldest gaming convention in Colorado, which would be GenghisCon, which this year will be its 41st year of existence. So that is who I am.
Ooh. Now, do you have any other ties to the gaming community at all? Are you a designer? Are you an editor? Or anything else?
Enthusiast who also had a skill set of knowing how to run conventions. I did get to work with a lot of cool people before I became the owner, though. I worked with Sean Patrick Fannin, who made the Shine Tar series and also wrote Savage Rifts. I also got to meet Shane Hensley, the guy who from Savage Worlds, talked with him. So there was a lot of cool people I had met before I became the owner of the cons, and then from that point on, it just kind of exploded into knowing a lot of people because this convention has quite the history.
Yeah. It seems like you got kind of like the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon going on for gaming.
Very much so. Taking on this con, you find out incredible things like the Secretary of State of Colorado, Wayne Williams, comes to my convention every year, and he plays for 4 days straight, nothing but train games.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool. Well, speaking of GenghisCon, when is GenghisCon?
So GenghisCon is actually in 2 weeks' time. We are the 15th through the 18th of February. We place ourselves on Valentine's and President's Day weekend because, most of my gamers either have wives or, don't have lives. So either way, it works out.
Excellent. Now, you and I got to chit-chat for a while, and Susie Q got to chit-chat with you for a while as well. But why don't we go through some of the things that people can expect at GenghisCon? Like, what kind of games? Do you have any special events? Anything else going on?
Well, just to kind of give you guys an idea, currently at our game submissions, we have over 380 events on tap. In the RPG section, we have 90 D&D games, including one of the cool things that we're getting is the Epic that is going to be released next week. We have the first convention to run that Epic, so a lot of our GMs are scrambling because they don't have as much prep time as they normally get to deal with an Epic. So D&D on the Pathfinder, we of course have Pathfinder and Starfinder, including a small epic on Starfinder, and then of course our claim to fame for GenghisCon is the fact that we are the largest Savage Worlds RPG gathering in the world. We actually have more games of Savage Worlds run at my con than they do at Gen Con. So that is one of our true, claims to fame. Additionally, of course, we have miniatures with 40K, Star Wars X-Wing, lots of other fun stuff there. And then in the board games area, along with a awesome board game library and over $3,000 worth of prize support from Envoy, we are also running the regional championships for 7 Envoy board games. Winners from those will go on to a full paid fun time over at Gen Con. So, come in, play, win, see what happens. We do have a retro arcade as well. Come in, play some Pac-Man, try some Dance Dance Revolution before you move on to your game of D&D.
I would break a hip if I tried to do Dance Dance Revolution.
But I bet many of your followers would actually want to see that.
I'm sure they would. They like to see me hurt myself. So, yeah.
The other cool things is we actually do have an escape room that will be featured inside the convention. And of course, we have some of our normal accoutrement that's going on. Lots of fun stuff. Gosh, I mean, we have our cosplay contest featuring golden tentacle kitties from Tentacle Kitty. And then, of course, some of our cool vendors. We actually one of the smaller cons that has the luck of having the only ChessX show up. 5 booths worth of ChessX, and so they are hawking dice left and right.
That is a lot of dice. 5 booths of dice. That's awesome.
4 tons is usually the weight. 4 tons of dice will show up to the convention. Most of the time, they'll leave with about 500 pounds. Because my guys love buying dice.
I'm a big dice fanatic. I have like this like predilection for dice. I love dice. So.
Well, definitely. We have, and the other cool thing is we have other guests that are going to be there. Like of course our fun celebrities. But one of the other fun things that happens at our con is actually we have 2 cool events that happens. The first one is, of course, Friday night bar fight, where the hotel allows us to take our drinks into the gaming areas. So everybody has a good drink and gets to play their games. And then, of course, our infamous Savage Saturday Night, where the Savage Worlds really shows up and they do a lot of cool stuff. Special guests will arrive. One of the infamous guests that we have is, of course, the creator of Savage Worlds, Shane Hensley. He sneaks into my convention every year. Doesn't do any panels, doesn't do anything. He just loves watching everybody and see what they do with his creations. So that's also one of those things, and a guest who's not a guest kind of a thing.
Awesome. We have a question from chat already, which is how many D4s end up on the floor by the end of the con? I mean, with 4 tons of dice, you got to think that there's going to be some D4s all over the place.
So the funny thing is on that one is actually so obviously not a lot of them will be over in the D&D section, but Savage Worlds wise, especially on their Savage Saturday Night, D4s are flying all over the place because that is on your character sheets 9 times out of 10 that is what you have to roll for, like either an intelligence buff or anything else inside the games that they have. So there's actually a lot of D4s that go flying around. Our record of people getting injured by dice, luckily, is 0. Although we did have an incident. I know. But we did have one incident where somebody actually tripped on the dice that was just sitting on the floor. Luckily, no one was actually hurt in the incident.
Well, that's good. I mean, injuries are never a fun thing to have, but I mean, while we're actually on this topic of conversation about, people throwing dice and possibly getting wounded and stuff, why don't we talk, I mean, since you are, the owner-operator of this convention, how about give us some pointers about what is convention etiquette? What kind of things should people be doing who visit your con that should really be like public knowledge? Everybody should know.
Well, first and foremost is realize that you are walking into a world where there's heavy tradition and then there's not heavy tradition. So the con has a 41-year history. So I have guys who have actually been running the same game at the con every year since its inception. And so some people will automatically feel like you should know that game, but it is part of our, the one thing is that if you don't know what's going on, ask a question. Literally just ask questions, because if you don't, you're never going to find out what's going on. One of the cooler stories we've ever had is we had a guy come up, and he had never played D&D before in his lifetime, but he'd heard about it. And he actually luckily he went up and asked a question to my D&D coordinator. And from that point, he not only ended up running and playing in every single game slot he possibly could, the very next year he ended up running 5 games. And so it was just like right there. That was like so huge to everybody, because it was just like you ask the question and then look at him, he's now just a regular Joe at the con. So the key thing is like ask questions. If you don't know what it is, ask about it, because I mean I have yet to meet a gamer who didn't want to talk about the game they're playing in.
Okay. How about bringing their own rule books or hygiene? I know you and Susie were talking about this a little bit earlier, which, by the way, she's back, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. So on that one, so rule books, actually, the funny thing is that 9 times out of 10, the guys who are running the games will usually have character sheets ready to go. Bring your own if you want to go ahead and be a little bit more in depth about the game that you're playing. But if you're just starting out, most of the time, they'll have all the information you need. As for hygiene, this is why I do not run GenghisCon 24 hours, because I would like people to stop, I would like people to go home, and I would like people to shower. So that is why, a lot of cons, they attempt the whole 24-hour gaming thing. You can game all night and stuff like that. But unfortunately, I truly believe that people need to get sleep and shower, and that helps with the whole hygiene thing. But at the end of the day, if you think that you smell, then go take a shower. If people telling you that you smell, also take a shower.
Gotcha. Now, I know that you brought something special with you today that you want to give away.
That is true. So, for all of you guys who are... Shadzar, get the fire hose.
Yeah, get the fire hose out.
Very nice, very nice. But no, what we are giving away today is actually a weekend badge into GenghisCon. This will allow you to come on in and join us for the 4 days. We are a 4-day convention. We start Thursday night. We go all the way till Sunday. And it'll allow you to see all the fun things you get to do. So, definitely weekend badge. And I am going to let you guys go ahead and figure out what they have to do to go ahead and win that.
Okay, so I'll make it nice and simple. What we're going to do is I'm going to put up a weekend pass giveaway. This is our first giveaway for the night, ladies and gents. So if you live in the Colorado area, or you plan on visiting the Colorado area the weekend after Valentine's Day and want to go to GenghisCon, you want this ticket. And now, if you know somebody who is going to be in the area and you want to give away this weekend pass, then by all means go ahead and go for it. But here we go.
All right, so they're giving up the giveaway here.
There we go. All right, so I'm going to let this run for about 20 minutes while we chit-chat. And we'll see who our winner will be.
All right. Now, you said that in the chat there's questions. I think Randy McWhitter asked a question about celebrities who attend on a regular basis into the convention.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I mentioned earlier, Shane Hensley, he's one of them. Another one that I always have, although this year he doesn't really want a guest spot, but Ross Watson, who just finished up working on Warhammer 40K. He actually was in Dusseldorf, Germany, riding with their team over there for a long time, and then he recently came back. He'll be back in time for the convention, but he's extremely tired. Then let me see here. Sean Patrick Fannin, he's a regular at our convention. Sean Patrick Fannin wrote Shinetar, Savage Rifts. He works with Eagle Beagle Games. Let me see here. Who else? Of course, Bill Keys. Bill Keys, he's a HeroClix guy. He's a luchadore writer. He likes the Mexican wrestler RPGs, and he writes those all the time. And then let me see here. Those are the guys who come year after year after year. As for this year's guest lineup, one of the coolest things that we have coming in is actually our first international game writer and RPG guest, and that is Gilbert Gallo of Italy. Gilbert Gallo writes a lot of pirates settings. So that is actually a really cool get for us. He's actually the reason why he's coming is because he helped write a pirate setting that is being released at GenghisCon with some of our local GMs.
Oh, that's cool. So it's gonna be like a world first.
Very much so, and so, and then also, Gilbert is very, very popular on the European circuit as a GM and guest at all the Italian RPG conventions, and they do have them. So, that would be, that's one of the cool things. Rydia Vieler. Rydia is a very cool writer. She works with Wizards of the Coast and is getting us what is called a con exclusive adventure. So she's writing an adventure that can only be done at our convention before it gets released out to the general public. So it's like the debut of these adventures before they get released out into the Adventurers League. Like I said, Wizards of the Coast. She works with Nintendo, a lot of other cool things. And then, of course, we have Daryl Hayhurst, who is actually the primary writer for the Savage Worlds setting of Torg. That is a big thing for us, and he's actually doing a bunch of Turbo Kid adventures because he likes doing like off-brand Turbo Kid, and so he actually arranged for a private showing of Turbo Kid at the convention on Thursday. So he's going to show the movie, and then he's going to run the adventures.
Oh, that's all very, very cool. I wish I could be there in person, but I'm not. I'm going to be a head in a box, sitting in a room somewhere.
But, we are giving you one of the best executive boardrooms to play in.
Ooh.
So let's not forget about that. Yes, that is actually true that you are actually going to be one of our guests, but you'll just be attending in a virtual capacity, staring in at our executive boardroom of games and players.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know, I'll be running an in-person game in Colorado without being there in person. I'm going to be a head in a box, which is a game master that virtually dials into the table, and with our friend Casey Rift, who you guys know from the Blackmore Society. He's going to help me set up. He's going to run one side of the computer. I'm going to run the other side of the computer. And talk about the ultimate game master screen. I mean, the cons in Colorado, and I live in New York State, so talk about like nobody will be able to see behind my screen. But I'm going to be running the Game Master of For those of you who know what that is, that's the combination board game, role-playing game that we're going to be doing. And it is going to be an absolute blast. Because there may possibly be a person there that some of you may know. I think, as Matt and I were talking earlier, I think there's going to be a media guest star, a Hollywood voiceover guest star, who may find his way, without him knowing, into this room of doom during the game. So would you like to tell the audience about the guests?
Please realize it might not just be him. So the other cool thing, like I hadn't gotten quite to them because they're kind of like a set of their own. So we do have some what I would call Hollywood guests coming in. The person that he is referencing to, as our wonderful guest is referencing to, is actually Jason Liebrecht, a name that most of you might not recognize right off the bat, but if you're a huge fan of Borderlands, you'd recognize him as the voice of Mordecai from Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel. So the voice of Mordecai would actually be joining that game because he's actually going to find his way in there due to the fact that I'm in charge of his schedule. Moo-ha-ha. So the voice of Mordecai will be joining in that room. Additionally, the other two guests that we have coming in from Hollywood is Samantha Inoue Hart, who is the only American producer of Japanese anime. She speaks Japanese fluently and is just a ball of fun. She's also a huge D&D nerd. And then also Andrea Caprodi, who is the lead animator on the hit anime series RWBY. which is produced here in the United States by Rooster Teeth.
Ooh, that's interesting and cool.
Yes, so
Can
those...
we get like...
Oh, go ahead, Susie.
I was gonna say, can we get like 5 minutes with her for our oldest daughter? She's going to Suco next year for graphic arts and animation.
Ah, well, then you would want to talk to both Samantha and Andrea. So Mental Fresh is extremely excited about Jason Liebrecht. Glad to see it, my friends. So yes, Jason Liebrecht, but yes, I would love to go ahead and give you those 5 minutes. Not only are they doing that, they're also doing some awesome, cool giveaways. They're going to be giving away some RWBY posters signed by the entire cast and other things. They're going to be giving some stuff to our charity auction. Because one of the cool things about the hotel that we are in this year for GenghisCon is that it is right across from Children's Hospital in Denver. And so part of what we're doing for these games is that people are donating some stuff. Is that we will be giving that money directly to Children's Hospital by literally walking across the street.
Nice. Very cool.
So, but yes, I would love to go ahead and give, Susie, if your daughter is very excited about animation and other things, Samantha Inouye Hart and Andrea Caprodi are both wonderful resources as she begins her career.
Very cool. That is going to be extra fun. And of course, as soon as our daughter, who of course can't hear us when we're standing there talking to her about doing the dishes like 2 feet away from her, we are on the opposite side of the house talking to you online, and she came zipping in here before Susie was done asking you her question. To go, what was going on? What?
Yes, but the lead animator of RWBY, she's coming, and then one of the cool things is that Jason Liebrecht on the first night is bringing his wife, no, not his wife, his girlfriend, sorry, but that girlfriend is actually one of the voices off of RWBY, and she will be there for a day, and then she takes off to Planet City Comic-Con in Kansas City the next day. So we actually get her for a night to play like Cards Against Humanity with Jason Liebrecht. So we'll have 2 voice actors playing Cards Against Humanity with our attendees.
Excellent. This is going to be extra fun. I can't wait to see and hear about all these celebs and get to virtually hang out with a few of them during my game on that Friday night. So, which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be streaming that live as well. So those of you who can't attend will be able to watch the camera, because I've been talking to Casey. I'll have a camera focused in on the player table so you guys can see them as they're sitting around the table. They will have actual physical character sheets in front of them. So they'll be able to play and do everything like that, while I sit behind the screen of Fantasy Grounds, and you guys will be able to see their responses and their reactions and everything, and I'll be streaming it live on Twitch. That will be at 9 p.m. Eastern or 7 p.m. Mountain Time on Friday the 16th of February. I'll be taking one of those slots, and that'll be, for those of you who are going to be attending the con, that event will be up after tonight's show. I wanted to make sure that Matt and I got to talk about it a little bit out loud before I posted it so everybody could see it.
And there's going to be a lot of other. Casey is actually helping us run several virtual games in there. Casey, of course, from CobaltCon. CobaltCon is, kind of like our little brother convention now. GenghisCon has been around for 41 years, and Cobalt will be entering its second. But another great convention, and I'm just excited to be working with Casey and you, of course, because Casey actually was the first one to do the virtual GMing thing. So he's actually a year ahead of me on that, even though we've been around for so long.
Yep, I think I was one of the first to sign up for CobaltCon as a virtual GM. He and I had chit-chatted a lot, and he's like, "Do you want to run some games?" So I think I ran 4 or 5 games during that convention, in his inaugural, opening, and we had some of my community members who were actually here in chat, like Zelikar, who's also a streamer, and a few others that had gone to the convention physically and actually got to sit down with Frank Menser. Susie Q over here actually got to play a game of Dungeon World with Frank Menser virtually. We talked to Sean Patrick Fannin. We got to do all sorts of stuff, and we kind of had like a reporter on the spot. So it was a lot of fun. Yes, Hell, you were there, and I hope to have you back there again this year because I would really like to see the video again.
Yes, but see, Zelkar, you need to come to Genghis as well.
She just entered for the ticket for the pass. She's like, "Ooh, I want to go. I want to go." Yeah, she's one of our local girls out in Colorado. She loves her gaming.
Well, GenghisCon is the place to be. We have see here, like I said, we have 360 games. By the time that game submissions will close, which is in like 2 days' time, it will literally be. I think we'll be close to 400 at that point. 400 games we'll be running. That's just scheduled gaming. Then there's of course impromptu gaming as well. My attendees on Thursday, even though the con doesn't start till 5, will show up at 10 in the morning and just start playing.
Nice. Well, I mean, that's the way conventions go, though. I mean, people, they travel for however far they may be traveling. They sit down, they see other people across the way who aren't quite road lagged yet, or jet lagged, as the case may be. And they sit down and they start talking to each other, like, hey, do you want a game? And they, like, break out Cards Against Humanity, or they break out a game of Settlers, or, they just, like, impromptu, World of Darkness, or, other, whatever else. And they just go for it, and I love it.
I think the most interesting one is that somebody has completely designed a Mario Kart game, board game. He's a local guy named Virgilio San Andreas. Very, very popular GM in my area, but he will show up, and his game is like there's 16 slots, and he is filled every single time. But he just made this game on his own, and people just flock to it. But like he came on a Thursday at like 10 in the morning, and every single one of his friends, like they were all there, just making sure that they could also run with this game, even though the con hadn't even began.
Wow. And what is your typical turnout for the con? I mean, we know there's a lot of games going on, a lot of special guests and stuff, but how physically big? How many attendees do you normally get?
We will see between 1,800 to 2,000 over the weekend. It's it's just as such a long history with everybody that everybody just continues to show up. One of the cooler things that we have, like one of our oldest GMs, he actually helps run the Friday night auction. Our auction is so large that it starts at 6 p.m. and it will not finish till 1 in the morning.
Oh wow. That's huge. I mean, I've taken part in auctions and stuff. When I worked with Goodman Games as a freelancer, I went and did one of their booths at a convention called Running Gag over here in New York State, and we donated a bunch of. At the time, it was during the 3rd edition period of time. We donated a bunch of like aerial adventures and Bronchosaurus Rex and all the rest of those things. And I remember that auction went for I think 2.5 hours, and we were like, wow, that's a long auction. But yours, holy crap, that is a long auction. There's got to be a lot of stuff going on in there.
Well, and it's just the amount of stuff that continues to show up. I mean, you'll find we had some original Gygax signed items show up into the convention 2 years ago.
Really? So will this auction be done virtually at all? Really?
We're thinking of it. There's just people like to go to Gen Con, find some interesting things. We're very interested to see what will happen with one of our other newer guests that will be showing up, but who was there in the 80s. But he is I will table him for further down our conversation, as he is he's a very interesting individual. But he brings some ancient times of gaming into GenghisCon.
Yeah. From the conversations you and I had earlier, I'm sorry, but the if you're watching and you're listening for the first time right now, you will want to sit around and hear these stories. These things are the fucking funniest things I have heard in a long time.
Luckily, I actually did bring up the email, so I can actually read verbatim. Wait.
Oh God! Oh no! This is gonna be fun.
So we will touch on him later. But one of the other cooler things that
You cut out on us there, Matt.
Sorry, one of the cooler things that GenghisCon has is that GenghisCon, when we officially shut down the con, like where we are like, okay, like the staff is going to go to bed, that doesn't stop the gaming. In fact, we will, they will definitely see just like, like we'll see games that go on till 3, 4 in the morning before they finally, give up. And then, of course, most of the games will end around 1:32 because that's when the bar shuts down. But,
Nice. Very nice. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have about 2.5 minutes left. If you want to get a free weekend pass in our giveaway to go to GenghisCon in Colorado the weekend after Valentine's Day, be sure to get your ticket in now because we got actually 2 minutes left at this point. So be sure to get your ticket in now. Also, for Matt, now we talked about how many attendees you have and such, and you and I talked very briefly about women in gaming before we actually came live online and stuff. But would you like to give people some demographics, like, what is the ratio of male to female gamers?
Oh, sure. I mean, the con features a 60-40 split, 60% male, 40% female. My attendees, when I first took over, were sitting around the average age of the convention was 55. That has dropped now down to 35 since I've implemented some changes. We have also been experimenting with new things, bringing in the arcade games. We also tried computer gaming for a bit. It's just extremely cost prohibitive. But the arcade games are actually a well-loved thing by all my attendees. When I first took over, we actually brought in cosplay as well, which also helps our demographics. One of the other things that we've been working on, which actually KC is working with me on it, is that we do what is called the High School Initiative Program, where we actually reach out to the local high school geek clubs and RPGs, and they get to go into the convention for a severely reduced rate, and the chaperones get in for free to let these kids, see that, like, tabletop gaming isn't something you just do at an after-school club. It's actually something you can do everywhere.
Nice.
That's
cool.
Awesome.
All right, so 15 seconds, ladies and gents. You got about 15 seconds left on this giveaway.
Indeed, 15 seconds, which is about as long as a cask of cider lasts at my convention.
Really? Is it hard cider or just like cider?
Oh, yes. My attendees went through 5 kegs of cider over 4 days.
Wow. All right, ladies and gents, we are closing up the giveaway. And we are about to draw ourselves a winner.
All right, here we go.
Drum roll, please. All righty, and our winner is Zelikar. Zelikar, you have won it.
All right, so Zelikar, here's what you need to do. Go on to tabletop.events, click on GenghisCon 41, sign up for an account there. And then please send your contact information over to JP. He will get it to me, and you will have a weekend badge waiting for you at registration on the day the con begins.
Yep. So Zell, yeah, definitely give me your tabletop stuff. I know that she's already on tabletop events and everything, so yeah, just send me the email that you signed up with and your login name, and I'll send that on over to Matt so we can make sure to get everything out to you. So that is that giveaway. Let me see. So while I'm setting up the next giveaway, would you like to thank your sponsors or tell us a little bit about the sponsors for the con?
Oh, certainly. Well, we actually have several interesting sponsors this year. Our normal ones, of course, are Chessex and Wizard's Chest. Chessex supplies custom dice to us. Wizard's Chest is a local gaming store that is helping support our board game area. Another huge shout out goes out to Gamers Haven. Gamers Haven is actually the sponsor of my miniatures. They are a Colorado Springs game store. Monster Energy Drink, because they actually come in and give away free monsters to all my attendees. They're also sponsoring our lanyards this year. Also, we need to go ahead and give out a shout out to Warner Brothers and Game Night, who is also doing some sponsorships and giveaways at our convention. They will be featuring some life-sized large sets of Jenga and other fun board games, as well as doing giveaways and prize support for the new movie Game Night, which comes out a week after my convention's completed, Ready Player One, and Rampage.
And what does Rampage do?
It's a movie.
Oh, the movie, is that the one that's based on the video game?
The 64 Rampage, yep.
Aha, gotcha. Okay. So that was kind of a lead-in for what I was about ready to do anyway. Is I want to thank our sponsors for our stream, which is Smiteworks. Smiteworks are the creators of Fantasy Grounds, and they have so kindly offered and provided for us a standard license copy of Fantasy Grounds to give away once a month, every month that we've been streaming. So we've been doing this now for about a year and change, where we've been giving away these standard license copies. So you have to be a follower. That's number one thing. If you have not followed, you cannot win. So you have to be a follower. There's no purchase necessary of anything, and we are going to give away a virtual one right now. Here we go. And I'm going to let this run for 15 minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Each ticket costs 20 experience points. You can buy up to 10 tickets. You can give it away to somebody else that doesn't have Fantasy Grounds already. That's absolutely fine by me. I have no issue with that, but you just have to be a follower in order to buy the tickets. So, there's that. Let me see. So while we are going through the Fantasy Grounds giveaway, why don't we talk about your guests, specifically the military guest?
I mean, he's not even. Let us go ahead and begin the story.
The story.
So I have a recent addition. This recent addition is a man by the name of Louis Zaki, or as he likes to be called, Colonel Zaki. Colonel Zaki, even though in real life he's only a colonel in the sub-state militia of Mississippi, which is where he is from. Colonel Zaki is the inventor of the 100-sided dice. So the 100-sided dice is, if you've ever seen it, it's golf ball size, and it has like a metal ball bearing inside of it that will allow it to stop instead of just rolling off a table.
I think I own probably about 40 of them.
If you ask Colonel Zaki how he invented it, he will tell you that when he originally tried, his math teacher called him a moron. That his other friend told him a very high-tech way of doing it, and then later on he realized it was far too expensive to actually make it that way, and eventually he just settled on a magic trick that eventually got him to where he is. Colonel Zaki is also, by the way, an amateur magician, which is a very interesting thing to encounter, especially at his ripe old age of 82. And at the convention, he will be turning 83 on Sunday. Yes, Shadzar. Zaki.
Which, by the way, I just posted the Biloxi Magician website for.
Guys, go ahead and enjoy that.
Oh my God, it's funny.
Go ahead and enjoy that. But Colonel Zaki reached out to me. He wanted to come to the convention, but then he told me that I had an imposter inside my convention, and I was extremely confused. Zaki owns a company called Game Science. Game Science makes dice, is, and he has this whole thing where he thinks that chess and other dice makers are imposters to true dice. Yes, Shadzar, the Zakihedron. You are correct. That is what he calls his 100-sided dice, the Zakihedron. So he was explaining to me via email, a very poorly written email, might I add, that I had an imposter in my convention, and that he demanded to know the real identity of who was this imposter of game science. I get some weird emails into my inbox as a con owner, so I ignored it because I thought this was kind of like a hacker or something, just somebody trolling me. That was until 2 days after that, and I will now read you the email I received.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have love for Louis Zaki and you remember the old Zaki dice and all the rest of those things, and you do not want to be offended by this, mute yourselves now, so that way you don't get to hear this.
Now, I need to premise, as I read this, I never responded to him, and none of us talked to him. So, dear GenghisCon staff, day before yesterday, I told you that I wanted to swap 2 two-hour lectures for 2 dealer booths. I also told you that your computer refused to let me use my game science name because it was already been taken. When I asked you to tell me who had been taken my company name, you sent me 3 names. I never sent him anything. The second and third name were the same and were the name of the defector who gave American military secrets to Russia. He is now living in Russia. I asked you for the phone number of the man who is living in Russia. I also told you that I think it is unethical to allow this pretender to represent himself as me, and to represent that he is legally connected to the real Game Science Corporation. If he did something unethical, you and I would be responsible in case he was allowed to pretend that he was Game Science. My computer appears to have deleted the reply you sent me as well as the message I sent you yesterday. Has this guy used Game Science name for any of your previous GenghisCons? What was the attendance number of GenghisCon 40? In the late 80s, I exhibited and performed my old-time medicine show at a GenghisCon. My hope is that you are willing to forgive and forget. Will you please send me the phone number of someone I can speak to about attending your show, as well as sorting out this imposter who wants to use the Game Science name? In my last reply, which I don't think you ever received, I told you to ask in the email you to give you a copy of the 2002, 2006, 2017, and 2018 Game Science brochure, as well as asking him the difference between the D12 and the old D12 and how it differs from the new one. And why is the new D24 different from the D24, which won an award in 2009 as the best gaming accessory of the year? Also, ask him how the new version of the D-Total differs from the previous editions. Also, ask him to tell you how Game Science got its hands on a new D48, D60, and D120. Signed, Louis Zaki.
I'm sitting here like in tears. I'm laughing so damned hard. Wow. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, you may. Oh, you know what? Since people may have already muted themselves, I will tell them to unmute themselves now. Oh my God, that's great.
So when I actually called him later on at the behest, so after that email was received, I was extremely, the phrase that I was most concerned about in that was the one where he says, I had been at GenghisCon in the 80s, could you please forgive and forget?
Uh-huh.
So I had to reach out. Like, I had guys who still come to my convention after 41 years. So I reached out to him and I was like, did something happen with with Louis Zaki? And the funny thing is that whenever I would ask them that question, they would always correct me. They'd be like, you mean Colonel Zaki? And they can't think of any particular incident. So that was a relief, but it was just very bizarre how he said, like, I hope you can forgive and forget. I'm like, okay, what happened? Then a day later, I received an email from Kevin Cook. Now, if you guys don't know who Kevin Cook is, he is the Guinness Book of World Record holder for dice collecting. And he lives in Colorado Springs. And he sent me an email saying that Zaki was demanding that he go up to GenghisCon to make sure that this game science imposter, which I've never had a vendor come in under game science at all, even in the 10 years of records that I still have, he was he's like, Zaki wants me to come up there. And, I wrote back to Kevin and be like, look, you can come up, but I guarantee you're not going to find him because nobody has asked to be at my con under that name. And then Kevin Cook wrote me back an email being like, hey, look, he's harmless. Zaki's harmless. Would you let him in your show? And I was a little bit put off by that. I made a couple more phone calls, and then I received an email from Goodman Games.
Oh, God.
And Goodman Games also said the same things. Like, look, he's harmless. Let him into the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, you will be the first ones to officially know that Colonel Zaki will be at GenghisCon.
Excellent. All right, we got a good scoop here. Colonel Louis Zaki will be at GenghisCon. You can go and Snowden him as much as you would like. Oh God, that would just be wrong. Don't go and poke the bear. Please don't go poke the bear.
I think that I have enough people that already want to try, so just stay tuned.
Stay in line, for that one. I'll be hearing stuff in the background as I'm doing my my head in the box, game. I'll be hearing, Colonel Zaki going absolutely ballistic. I'll make sure Casey gets the camera to kind of pan over that direction so we can watch.
Okay, so Mental Fresh, you asked, Zaki is Zocchi. You were off by one, Randy. Sorry.
Wow, that is awesome. I can't wait to see this stuff. This is going to be great. Now,
he will be featuring his Zaki Hedron, so get excited. Yes, Zaki Hedron.
Now, was Zaki the one who made the 32-sided die as well?
I'm not sure.
Because I have one of those. Now, for those of you out there who don't know what a 32-sided die looks like, think of a 10-sided die and the way it has those 2 points, and it's basically like 2 halves. It's like that, except much bigger, and it hurts a lot and weighs about a pound of hard impact plastic. And it is like the most devastating die I own. And every time my kids get my dice out, I end up stepping on it, and it hurts a lot. It won't pierce your foot, but it will break the bones in your foot.
So basically, what he's saying is this is why he doesn't want to do DDR, because he's already broken his foot and doesn't want to try it again.
On Barbie doll boobs, 32-sided dice, and Legos.
I don't even want to hear about it. You have dice stories as well, Susie. For example.
Nothing like a D4 in the ass.
Yeah. When Susie Q and I were dating, way back when in the prehistory of the internet, when the two of us were dating, she came over to my apartment, and it was a game night. We were laying down. We were getting ready to go to sleep. She screams in the middle of the night, and we had no idea what the hell it was. Now, I had a waterbed at the time. Yes, I know, ladies and gentlemen, talk about age. I had a waterbed at the time. And Susie screams, leaps out of the bed, is jumping around buck naked in my bedroom at this apartment. What it was, she spun around at one point in time after I turned on the light. She said something had bitten her that was in the bed. I'm like, nothing in the bed. It's a heated water bed. There's nothing here for it to bite you, kind of thing. She spun around, and sticking in her ass cheek was a D4 stuck in her butt.
That sucked.
Poor Matt is dead silent at this point. He's
sorry, I was going to I was looking at your chat, and I clicked on it, and your chat rules came up. And I think your number 6 actually just makes everybody else's all the other rules yeah.
I don't even remember what my number 6 is.
That's right, Mental Fish. So he was in the military, but he was a tech sergeant. He never made it to colonel. He was a colonel in a sub-state militia in Mississippi.
He's colonel like Colonel Sanders, except instead of fried chicken, it's dice.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
But if you talk to him, he has stories about every single type of dice you can think of. Waterbed, buck naked. Guess what happened next? That's right, a D4 in the butt.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mental Fresh. Now you understand why you're laughing as much as I am about this guy.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have heard things about, the Colonel Zaki, being around gaming industry. I mean, I worked with Dave Arnson, I've worked with Gary Gygax, I've worked with Bob Bledsoe, I've worked with all those guys. Susie's Game with Frank Menser. So we kind of have this, history with the early days of gaming. And I've heard stories about Colonel Zaki. I have never heard one in this detail before. I mean, I've heard he's nuts, but I've never heard, actual proof.
That email alone, you have to understand, I had not known about Colonel Zaki. I was just like, what? But when I talked to him on the phone, because eventually I did have to talk to him on the phone. Yes, the ALSDF force and held the rank of colonel. That's was what you wanted. Yep. So I told you, Substate Militia. That's where he's a colonel. If you watch his magic show, it is fantastic, especially the one where he's a clown in a bingo parlor. I believe the slide that introduces him before he starts playing it says "Killer Clown escapes insane asylum and changes his plowshare into an instrument." Is how he titled it.
What? Yeah, we will eventually have to get there and take a look at that one, but we'll do that away from the stream.
Yeah, so yes, Mental Fresh, you are correct. He has a very strong opinions about dice and how they're created. One of his lectures is actually about how to roll winning numbers accurately. So that is a very interesting. Trust me, any story you get him to tell will take 45 minutes, guaranteed. Because he will tell you the ins and outs of everything that happens. And that's why one of the reasons I was intrigued, I actually got him not to do one of his panels. We have actually got him to agree to do a AMA, an Ask Me Anything panel.
Oh, God.
At the convention.
Oh,
because we just want to learn about Colonel Zaki.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. Do you need me to stream it for you?
What day is it going to be on?
Probably on Saturday, and I will send you some money to get popcorn.
Oh my God! Well, if Susie Q and I were not out of town on Saturday, I would say, oh hell yes. But if you do stream it, we'll talk about this a little bit later when we're off stream and stuff. But if you do stream it, I'll try to see if I can host it so everybody can see it, because this sounds funny as hell.
Now, Mental Fresh, as you're going through, I want you to look up some of his videos. He did some videos. It's him basically talking at Gen Con. And while he's there, you will hear him talk about the fact that binary code is something. He also talked about the old ways of trying to get how guys could figure out how many games they sold by making every 100th copy yellow and keeping those copies. So after they sold 99, they would just put that yellow copy off to the side. He still talks about binary code like it's a very, very important thing. And he thinks that Kickstarter's a bunch of crap.
I think I'm going to have to talk to KC, since KC's going to be there, and KC and the Blackmore Society, they're helping Susie Q and I get special guests lined up for Legends and Lore, so we have at least one special guest every month. I'm going to have to talk to Casey about going over and talking to Lewis. Oh, I'm sorry, Colonel Zaki. About, make sure I have to keep saying this, about possibly getting him for a Legends and Lore in the future. Oh, come on.
No.
Susie, It could be no more painful than taking a D4 to the ass.
Yes, it can, because I deal with crazy people all day long, constantly. Oh my God.
Awesome. All right, so ladies and gents, those who are out there who are a part of the Fantasy Grounds giveaway, you still have about 2 more minutes left on Fantasy Grounds. You will get a standard license copy provided to us by Smiteworks. They are giving away 1 copy through me every month of the standard license copy of Fantasy Grounds Virtual Tabletop. So you have about a minute and a half at this point to purchase your tickets. So definitely be sure to purchase a ticket. If you have not done so yet, you have to be a follower in order to get it. So let me see here. Other things that we've got going on. Actually, I want to offer something to you, Matt. On Sunday, which will be at 10 a.m. on Sunday, Fantasy Grounds College, who are great friends of ours, they teach people how to utilize Fantasy Grounds, they're a nonprofit organization, are having a special Valentine's AMA about couples in gaming that they are going to stream. Susie Q and I are special guests that day. And if you'd like, I can give you the information after the show. So if you wanted to stream something like that on televisions or something around the convention, you are welcome to.
I would be happy to do that.
Excellent. All right, so we've got a little less than 30 seconds, ladies and gentlemen, on the Fantasy Grounds giveaway. Definitely be sure and do that. We only got about 5 minutes left of our stream, so let's see. We've covered... Holy crap, we've covered guests, we've covered games. Did we miss anything? I know you and I chatted about, okay, what are our talking points and stuff, but I think we've kind of hit and miss everything.
Our talking points are GenghisCon's a great time. I look forward to having you being a virtual GM. I'm very excited to have Zell come on up. We're extremely excited because if you wish, I will make sure that you have prime seating for the Zaki AMA.
Oh, definitely. This is gonna be great.
Like I said, we're an old convention, but we're a fun convention, and if anybody's interested, come on down, man.
Oh, and since we're talking about virtual stuff as well, now I know that Casey's been working with you about getting some virtual games. How do people find these virtual games that they're able to play?
So actually, what's going to be happening after this is completed is that we will have, he's actually in charge of that section. Casey will be putting up all the virtual games. They are free to play in as virtual players.
Ooh, free to play.
There's no badges or anything because we consider this an experimental thing, and we're going to see how it goes. I'm sure it's going to be a great success, and that's how it's going to go. But that way, but we also want to encourage you guys just to come on in. We'll also have some. But what does Colorado have?
Colorado is the Mile High State, not just because of how tall it is. That's all I'm going to say.
Shadzar, there's a reason we don't have a tax deficit in Colorado anymore.
Of course, Susie goes right there. She's like, bam!
You know it.
Wow. My wife, who sounds like a stoner now, that's great.
Shadzar, you know what we have? Casa Bonita. Enough said.
Casa Bonita. Okay. All right, ladies and gents, I'm going to close up the giveaway, and we're going to draw. We got 30 tickets that were out there, so let's see who gets what. Okay.
All right, here we go.
Drum roll, please. Blue Soda Pop. You won, sir. Congratulations. We had 30 tickets between 3 people who wanted this. So Blue Soda Pop, thank you so very, very much. Be sure to message me over in Discord after the show. I'll let you know everything you need to have in order to get your copy of Fantasy Grounds.
If anybody else is curious about Casa Bonita, just look up the South Park episode it was featured in.
Oh my god.
I just linked to the actual restaurant.
Yeah, but the South Park episode will summarize that restaurant perfectly.
Nice. Alrighty. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, we are at an end for today's Legends and Lore. We've got anecdotes, we got all sorts of stuff. Matt, why don't you tell us how much do tickets cost, just in case people didn't get the free one?
So it's $50 for the weekend for 4 days of gaming. Day badges are $30, and we also have something called a visitor's badge. So if you just want to show up and go into our dealer's room, it's $10.
Very cool. Very cool. And do you have anything else you want to say before we start wrapping things up?
Everybody should come to Genghis so you can meet Colonel Zaki.
Yeah, exactly. Colonel Zaki is now forever going to be the draw for GenghisCon.
It's the only way to go. But anyway, guys, it's been a great time here. Thank you guys so much for having me on, and I hope to get to see you guys down the road.
And I cannot wait to run my game at GenghisCon on Friday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm doing the Head in the Box. Game Master of is the name of it. There will be some special guests. There will be some all sorts of weirdness happening. There will be some video streaming. There will be everything else going on. I'll be streaming that stuff live, ladies and gents, so you guys can go and fuck with those players utilizing your Stream XP. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you that, Matt. My chat is actually an active participant in this game. They will fuck those players up, and it's going to be fun.
No doubt.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for coming by for this episode of Legends and Lore. I'd like to thank our wonderful guest, Matt Rowles, for coming. He is the owner and operator of GenghisCon. GenghisCon is the oldest convention in Colorado. It is in its 41st year this year. So, ladies and gentlemen, definitely be sure to check that out. If you're in Colorado, get there. If you're not in Colorado, check out the virtual games that will be there. They do all that stuff, the badges and seats and everything. They do that through tabletop events for the virtual stuff. And of course, get there, see Colonel Zaki. It almost sounds like a game, like Get Colonel Zaki. So, ladies and gentlemen, for myself, for Susie Q, for our special guest, Matt Rowles, thank you so much for coming by for this Legends and Lore, and we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.